I've been probably influx the last week with emails, phone calls, text messages, pulled up in the street.
In the book of Revelation in the Bible, of course, it talked about a whole world tracking system for buying and selling. To my complete amazement, in a way, we're living in those times where no question that, we're moving into this digital ID and tracking, and I can understand why people have got concerns.
But the reality is, guys, I think that the truth of the matter is, I'm well aware of what the problem is, but for anyone to think that we've ever been free, like, I mean, Australia is still a bunch of convicts at the end of the day. We're not really free. Some people can see the bars and they know that they're locked in, and other people just can't see the bars and they think they're free. The truth is, there's already massive government overreach.
Mate, you just made one of the greatest comments I've ever heard you say. Own nothing, control everything. You flip the Great Reset on its head, own nothing and be happy, but you're saying own nothing and control everything, which is kind of, you've stolen my asset protection mantra, Trent, but you've improved it. It's a own nothing and control everything, because that's really, I think actually of the story of Joseph in the Bible, where he ended up being in a time of famine in Egypt, where the whole world had gone into a great global famine and a great global crisis. And he ended up creating a system to help people get through it. It's like if you cheat on your partner and then and then your ex doesn't want to talk to you again, and you might be sorry about it, genuinely sorry. What we do have an opportunity to do now is to stop it getting any worse, and we can at least start to find a way to work within the system, rise up in consciousness, stop it getting any worse, and eventually take over the system.
Anger is a very low vibration, which is only going to bring more dramas into your life. When things happen to us, sometimes we just have to understand it, accept it. I'm a big believer that it's God versus the government. I think that we've just given the government too many rights, too many rules. We let them dictate us. I truly believe that the golden age is going to be here about 2032. Don't have it in your own name, and then you don't own it. It's such a simple, logical move to do. Truth of the matter is, none of us actually chose to be here. We're all in the game. So we've got to play the game. Don't let the game play you, but play the game.
I don't want to be targeted or judged due to my interests or what I look like. It's bad enough dealing with a government ID. Then Bell also says, concerned that when a new pandemic is conjured, we'll be forced to be vaxxed or bank accounts and life will be frozen. How does a house not being in our own name stop the government or First Nation people taking the property?
I think that the digital ID and the CBDCs will play a big part in a future lockdown, because I believe there's definitely another lockdown. One or two of those are coming. The people pulling the strings are not on the right side of the holy war. They are absolutely driving that. So the only way we can really push back is spiritually. I know that might sound like woo to people. It's the truth. You've got to learn how to dictate your energy. You've got to make sure you don't have your energy blocks. You've got to rise above the fear of it, and you've got to be smart around about it. Now is a time to be very smart. And you've got to pick your battles a bit too. You've got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them as well. You've got to realize that this whole game is corrupt. The courts are corrupt as well. One thing you can do, a very wise thing, is just make sure that Mr. Trent Chapman doesn't actually own anything. If you have a mobile phone, this mobile phone isn't in Mr. Trent Chapman's name in any way, shape, or form. This is in a different entity's phone, an entity which I control. So doesn't really concern me in that sense. If you want to be sovereign, if you want to be free in spirit, you want to be free in your own movement, your own freedoms, then you've got to take action, but you've got to move with the technology where we are at the moment as well. Sometimes that we've got to filter out some dust to be able to move forward. There's never been a better time to, dive into entrepreneurship and have a look at that. There's so many different things out there at the moment, digital nomad visas, all these other things that can also assist us within that freedom.
I know that I'm your doctor, Trent, and I've realized you got a severe illness and cancer. And imagine what I watered it down for you, pretended everything was fine. You wouldn't like me for it. Sometimes you've got to face an ugly truth about things. You've got to pick your battles. And there was a time when we could push back against the system. There was a time over 20 years ago when people spoke out about things, governments had no choice but to listen. Right now, if you push back and speak out and take on the system, there's a very good chance you're going to lose all your money. Unfortunately, you've been influenced by the dumb vote. The minority have chosen the protest, not the majority. We have such a lawless kind of, when you have a big community of people, by and large, people will be lawless just because of human nature. So we do need some form of government to regulate life, liberty, and property. Woe to the people whose governments declare martial law in times of peace. So you can be called in and have a notice. And if you tell any of your friends, you go to jail. This is going on in Australia right now. We have let this happen. We've got the sovereign individuals, we've got governments here, and we've got corporations, and we've let these fuckers take over and run the show. And we're paying the consequence now. Like what Martin Luther did. He went up and he says, no, you cannot do this. You can't keep burning people on barbecues and then using the church as a money-making spin. I mean, it was the biggest scam you'll ever see. And so governments have been doing this. And when you're disempowered, governments can do this to you. We chose to sit there and let stuff happen. We chose to allow things to go on. And fortunately, thank God we woke up. The only thing that changes is a spiritual awakening and overcoming the system of the beast. And how you do that is like, at first you've got to embrace the reality of it. And I want to really sink in. My message is hope, but hope does not mean sitting there watching Netflix hoping it will get better. Hope is taking action. In all of this, there's opportunity. Who knows, maybe out of all of this, Trent, you and I and a lot of people could take over the system and bring change.
The revolution that we need is the evolution of the mind. That's what we need. That's how the revolution will work. We need to raise that consciousness and be aware that I think we all understand the truth, but there's truth and there's also reality. And reality is the matrix that we currently live in at the moment that we have to work within. I think these next couple of years as well, that the one thing that I've been very mindful of, and I've spoken to you a bit about this the last couple of weeks, was we've had a fair few conversations around this. These next couple of years, it is going to be wealth that no one's ever seen before that's up for grabs. The whole system changes. It does go all digital. Everything's new. So we are in a time where we could really capitalize. Earth is a school for us to come, and it is a place where we learn. It is a place where we go through emotions. And it's like a gift almost. Some emotions we don't really like, right? But it's still a gift. We get to feel it. We get to experience it. We get to be a part of it as well too. You've got to find what sits well with you. I would hate to think of what life would be like for me if I was excluded and sitting out in the hills. I like parts of the matrix.
It's a chance for one of the greatest spiritual awakenings in human history. They overcame the system, the beast, by having a strong faith that drove them, by the word of their testimony, speaking out, and they love not their lives for death. In other words, they're willing to give up everything. They realize that earth is so fucking transitory. I remember I was ready to give everything up and I actually was at peace. That's the beauty when you've got a faith, a spiritual belief, because you kind of know that spirit leads you. However you know spirit, whether that's Christ, whether that's Krishna, whether that's the universal consciousness, it doesn't really matter. But when you really trust in spirit, spirit does lead you and you'll find a way through it.
And any change brings opportunity. Every time that there's change, there's always opportunity for growth.
The biggest thing I would be saying to people is to focus on finding meaning in your life. What legacy am I leaving the world? Am I leaving one? Or am I just some dude who comes in, says a few crazy things and gets out? I thought, no, I want to make sure that I enjoy my life. I have quality of life myself.
Don't get caught up in what everyone else and everything's going through on Facebook and the rest of it. Do what's right. Don't ask for things to get easier. Ask for yourself to get stronger. It is a holy war. It is a spiritual war, and make sure that you'll play your part the best way that you can. Now is the time to be your true self and play a part in this holy war.
Holding your wealth and being empowered to be strong and financially powerful is what gives you the strength to not only live a damn good life if you're going to be on earth, but also to be able to fund pushing back and do what you need to do.